Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and it's all going off this morning with the latest Man United news and transfer news here on the United Stand. Don't forget, it's live charity stream day. I'm going to be on That's Football from 11 a.m. UK time until the early hours. You can donate through the live chat. Looking forward to that. But we're here to talk about the United Stand. We're here to talk about Manchester United, and it is all going off this morning. We've got transfer news to start off with, but some people aren't happy with what Roy Keane has said about Anthony Martial being a postman in Mexico, saying this is why players get unfair abuse. We'll talk about that. Also, some people have got the tissues out, not because they're crying. They're doing something more sinister about Man United's new data capabilities and how they're in the top 4 for data. And also, United looking at a raft of young players. We'll go through that. Is this good? Is it bad? I've seen mixed reviews. Some people saying, why are we focusing on 17, 18, 19-year-old midfielders when we don't even pick Mainu? When was the last time we developed a young player properly? Why are we obsessed with it? Other people saying, surely this is about building a structure and platform for the future. Some people say this is just the bloody conveyor belt of buy cheap, sell high, Chelsea model that Sir Jim's trying to bring into Man United that doesn't suit what Man United's all about. So we'll talk about that as well. Also a little bit on Onana, and let's get into transfer stuff actually, because there's more on Adeyemi there. But as you can see, on the thumbnail this morning, we've got João Gomez and we've got Conor Gallagher. Interesting stuff coming out this morning. So in the case of Conor Gallagher, he is open to leaving Atletico Madrid in the January transfer window. Apparently he's very settled in Madrid, but he's not getting the game time. It's a World Cup year. You look at that midfield, you look at Jordan Henderson playing minutes for England, and you probably think, I could do that. I've got to admit, I do that. I don't know about you. I used to play midfield. I look at Jordan Henderson running around with an England shirt, and even in my mid-40s, I do think, maybe dust those boots off behind me, get a kickabout down the park, I could get a call up. So imagine if you're a Atletico Madrid player or Mainu, you're thinking, yes, this could happen. So Gallagher open to a move. As I mentioned to you at the start of the week, this is the big international break where players are talking. Lots of conversations are going on at Carrington. Lots of conversations are going on outside of Carrington, especially with those players who are sat there twiddling their thumbs. Their wives and partners are trying to get them involved in the Christmas presents, and they're saying, I just want to go to the World Cup. I don't want to look at bloody Argos catalogue. I want to go to the World Cup. I'm not bloody going Christmas shopping. You're always, why don't you get a job? Taking my money that I'm not even bloody playing for. I want to go to the World Cup. So they're on the phones to their agents. They're saying, what we're going to do, what we're going to do. This is the last chance. You've got to get me out in January. And it appears Conor Gallagher's going to be in that mode. Well, that's not news, I hear you say. And ultimately, it is, but it's not. But it is. But the news is, there is more than Man United. If you believe Man United looking at Conor Gallagher, there is more than Man United looking at Conor Gallagher in the January transfer window when it comes to Premier League interest. And there is more than Man United, if we are interested in João Gomez, looking at João Gomez in the January transfer window. So what avenue are we starting to walk down now? Well, we're starting to walk down that avenue of if you snooze, you lose. We're starting to walk down that avenue that, oh, there's no value in the market, or, oh, we like to wait till the summer transfer window. And if that's the case, then we're going to miss out, because one thing we don't consider when we look at the next 10 Premier League games and go, oh, we're going to win the league, we're going to be top of the league, we're going to win all these games, oh, look at this, it's amazing, oh, we'll be absolutely fine. The reality is, even if we put ourselves in a good position, even if Man United are in the top 4 in January, doesn't mean we're in the top 4 in May. Nottingham Forest were in the top 3 from September to the start of May. They weren't in the top 6 at the end of May. We were top of the league once under Ollie. We didn't bloody win it. So just because we get into the top 4 for January, my big fear, and I think your big fear is, Sir Jim and the Joels of this world go, oh, look at us, we're absolutely fine. And you're where you want to be halfway through the race, but that doesn't necessarily put you where you want to be at the end of the race, especially if Newcastle, Aston Villa, Tottenham go out and strengthen in January because they're not where they want to be. And United go, we don't need to strengthen, and then we fall behind. Man United are when you look at it, forget Sir Alex, it was a long time ago. When you look at Man United in recent years, we're not a team that kicks on in the second half of the season. We tend to drop off. Last 2 years, we've dropped off massively in the second half of the season. And even the year before that with Ten Hag, after the Carabao Cup in February, we dropped off. So the last 3 years, year before that was Rangnick, 4 years. I can't remember what Solskjaer did in his last full season, but the last 4 years, we've dropped off after January. Pop, there you go. Yeah, you know. I don't need a TikTok account and a bloody, statistical website to tell you facts. Last 4 years, second half of the season, we fell off a cliff. So there's your warning, Sir Jim. You know, your guy you brought in from Mercedes, who's good with his computer. Tell him to smoke that. Yeah. Go on. Tell him. No, literally, tell him that. You can get him off his bloody computer and tell him that. Last 4 years, second half of the season, we fell off a cliff. So what do you think you could do to counter that? Get a player in January. So Ollie got his contract and dropped off, says Neil. That wasn't in the last 4 years, but I know what you mean. So yeah, we've got to be competitive in the next half of the season. I think other clubs are going to buy players. So the question is, are Man United going to heed that warning? With regards to Conor Gallagher, there is 2 or 3 other Premier League clubs looking at him. Crystal Palace have always been in for him. He actually went on loan there and did quite well when he was at Chelsea. London connection. João Gomez, there are talks of a couple of Premier League clubs looking at him. As we discussed before, Wolves by the middle of January could basically be relegated. He will be going cheap in the summer if they're relegated. So they may go, we're relegated anyway, let's get a little bit more money. For example, a release clause could mean he goes for like 30 million. If they sold him for 35 in January, they make 5 million. So, there we go. Or you might be able to do a deal where you buy him for 40 in January. They get an extra 10, but you spread it out over 4 years. So it's only 10 million a year. So there is stuff that we can do there. And I certainly think that we do need to be looking at it, because when I look at what other clubs might do, and when I look at Manchester United, I think that to do nothing would be criminal, in my opinion. So it is something to be wary about. We spoke about Adam Wharton this week. Chelsea are considering, according to reports, bidding for Adam Wharton in January. Now, I'm doing a video later, which I think you're going to enjoy on this channel, so I don't want to give too much away. But I won't lose any sleep on Adam Wharton going, because he's not my number 1 target. But he would be in my top 5. And therefore, if Adam Wharton goes to Chelsea, one of my top 5 is gone. I don't want that to happen, because we need to buy 2. I want to buy 2 of my top 5 midfield targets. I don't want to see them drifting off to other people. And I think this is something that we need to be very, very aware of. We sit here going, do I want that? Do I want that? Do I want that? And while you're deciding or raising your money, people come in and go, we'll have that. We'll have that. And by the time you're ready to go, you go, oh, it's gone. Oh, it's gone. Oh, I'll have to take that. And that's something that we've got to be very, very careful of. Very, very careful of indeed. Ian says, oh, thanks for the super chat, Ian. He says, good luck today, Mark. We're still under a Glazer ownership. If Ineos want us to believe this is a new era, using the January transfer window would be a start. I don't want to be like a broken record. If we don't use the January transfer window, then it's another big red flag about this Ineos Glazer partnership. Because I'm telling you now, I look at Liverpool, I look at Arsenal, I look at Man City, I look at Chelsea, and there are other clubs. And if they were in the position we were in now, they wouldn't be pissing about putting statements out about steady growth and we're heading in the right direction and we've got a stats guy who's looking at stuff. I mean, it baffles me what excites some people in our fan base. But I was reading this right. So Michael Sansoni's arrival from Mercedes as director of data in April was one of the least surprising moves. Sansoni has completely revamped Man United's data capabilities, which are now being used extensively across performance, recruitment, and training. Precise details of the work he's done are closely guarded secret, but one source said the work of United's data and analytics team has accelerated to such a degree it is now among the top 4 teams. That's from Simon Stone. I mean, that might be true. It might not be true. You've got people doing videos on it. You've got people, certain supermarkets are running out of tissues as Man United fans buy them all to knock one out. And I'm sat there going, what? This is irrelevant news. This is completely and utterly irrelevant news. Why would I give a toss, literally, about some guy who started in April who revamped our IT? If I want to ask him about how to play, Clash of Clans or whatever the bloody do play, I'd go and ask him, but I'm not interested. I genuinely do not see the impact of a new IT guy from April to the start of November. He's revamped our recruitment. What was it? Recruitment. I mean, we just make these mistakes all the time. So he's revamped our performance recruitment and training. Okay. So if we'd lost to Spurs, like some people think we should have done, we'd be mid-table again. Is it his data that caused De Ligt to be unmarked on the back post and score a header then? Is that data analysis? Because if De Ligt doesn't score that, we're mid-table and people are saying Amorim out again. We are not picking up injuries because we're playing one game a week. As I said last night, there was a story last night about how Ten Hag's rigorous training is why they picked up so many injuries and that they're not picking them up now. And I sometimes feel like going, oh my God, why are people so stupid? Our workload has decreased by 50% this season comparable to the last 3. We are still picking up injuries, by the way. We still have injuries. We've still had Maguire injured, Mount's been injured, Mazraoui's been injured. We are still picking up injuries. The volume of them will be directly attributed to the fact that we're playing less games. That's not a computer guy from Mercedes. So that's 2 straight away. He hasn't come in and improved performance. No, he hasn't. So what does Amorim do? Computer guys here to tell you how to get performance. Come on. He hasn't improved fitness because fitness hasn't improved. We're tired in the second half against Spurs on 1 game a week. We're just playing 1 game a week. If we were playing 2 games a week, we're doubling our load, you're doubling the chance of injury and you're doubling the chance of fatigue. And recruitment, well, he only came in April. How does he take credit for the summer transfer window when he only came in April? Cunha and Burmo were already being looked at pre-April. And then Lemens was Tony Coton. And Sesko was 5th choice. And the jury's still out. So I just think sometimes we just want to... Look, we're so hungry to be successful. I get that. That we grab hold of something and go, we're doing really well. We're doing really well. This guy might be whacking it into ChatGPT. We don't know yet. We do not know yet how successful this data-driven approach will be. And also, it's an open goal. It's an open goal because Man United have been crap at this for years, whereas teams like Arsenal, Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford have been doing it very, very well for many years. So it's good that we've caught up. But it's how we take a little bit of positive news and try and turn it into this is why we're going to win the World Cup. And that's not the case. It's too early to go, IT guy has come in and this is why we're doing really, really well. Because anybody with a brain would go, well, our summer signings are doing well. But when Mourinho bought Pogba, Zlatan, Bailey and Mkhitaryan, for the first 7 months, they were the best 4 signings we've ever made. A year later... 2 of them were flops. 3 of them were flops. And Zlatan had gone. So we've got to stop doing this. I actually hopped onto Robbie's stream last night and they were asking me about United and they were saying, are Man United back? And I said, you could ask, 1,000 Man United fans if we're back and half of them would say yes. Half of us would say it's way too early. We've been down this road so many times. The amount of false dawns we've had is incredible. I look at Mourinho after his first season. I thought it was the start of something. He was sacked within 2. I look at Solskjaer when he finished 2nd. You felt it was the start of something. He was sacked. You look at Ten Hag when he finished in the top 4 and he won the Carabao Cup and you felt it was the start of something and it wasn't. So Garfield says we are on our way back. Mate, it's not worth the paper you're written. I wouldn't wipe your arse. I wouldn't wipe my arse on that paper that you've written that on. I really wouldn't. It's November. We're out the Carabao Cup. We finished 15th last year, which people still want to talk about. We're not in the top 4 yet. We've just been talking about the January transfer window, which we don't know we're going to spend in, and people are saying that we're on the way back. This is not comparable to Jose Mourinho finishing Mourinho's best season or Ollie's best season or Ten Hag's best season, and we didn't come back from that. So I hope we're on the right path, but I get fed up of the noise that gets thrown out there. And you know, that's tactical noise as well. That's from the BBC. That's from Simon Stone. That's out there on purpose to make people get excited about, oh, the new guy we brought in. But I'm a firm believer that, especially in communities like this, our job is to, you know, question things and discuss things. And I'm not having it that, you know, Sir Jim's mate from Mercedes has come in and revolutionised our fitness, our transfers, and our performance on the pitch. Because if he's done that, what was Amorim doing? What was Wilcox doing? You know, it's not that simple. It's something we need, but it isn't something that is that simple. And that leads into something else I wanted to talk about as well. You might have seen this today. This has been causing a lot of debate. So let me just give you a summary. Man United hold interest in 19-year-old AZ Alkmaar midfielder Kees Schmidt. Man United are exploring a move for Sporting Lisbon defensive prospect Salvador Blopper. The 18-year-old can play at right back or right midfield and has already been likened to former club mate Nuno Mendes. Man United scouted both Jeremy Jacquet and Mohamed Kadar Mete for Rennes against Paris FC last week. All of these are talented young players. And I think it's interesting that we're looking at those types of players. But I've seen a lot of people going, what is the purpose of this? We already have got people like, look, give me names of young players that we've already got that are coming through. We've got people like Thwaites, we've got people like Lacey, we've got Gabriel, of course, he's coming, you know, he's not quite ready yet. There's plenty of players already in the youth. You've then brought people in like Kone, Obi. So, and what's the guy name begins with O? I think he's South American, played really well against Germany the other day. We spoke about him on the show. So we've probably got 5 to 10 really good prospects already at the club. We're looking to buy maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. We've got Leon as well, as Garfield says. So we've got all these good young players at the football club already. Orozco, that's it, Orozco. It's got all these good players at the club already, and we're looking to bring in more. At what point? And there's 3 arguments here. One of them is, this is brilliant, it's amazing, I'm so excited, we're going to win the league in 5 years' time with the best young team ever. Chelsea can't do that, by the way. Point 2 is that, why are we doing this when we're no good at developing the players that we've got? And point 3 is this just Sir Jim Ratcliffe clocking into what Chelsea do, where you buy talented young players young, get them out on loan, develop them a little bit, and double your money. So you could buy one of these lads from Rennes for 5 million, and in 2 or 3 years' time, you sell them for 12, you've doubled your money. Is it investment for profit, as Udo said? Is it genuine investment to put them in the first team, class of 92? Or is it a waste of time because we're not very good at developing young players anymore? And the honest answer is, I can sort of understand all 3. For me, and it might surprise people here because it's a positive take, I'm never going to not be encouraged or excited by the prospect of, oh, there's this player in France who's 18 and he looks like he could be the next Kante, and Man United are going to buy him. I'm never going to go, oh, don't bother, he'll never get a chance, or don't bother, we're just going to buy him and sell him for profit. I'll always say, yeah, let's buy him, because it's what, 5 million quid? And he could be the next Kante, and he could be so good, Amorim has to pick him, and then he could be so good that he ends up being one of the best midfielders in the world ever. So I'm always going to go, yeah, do it. I'd rather do it than not do it. But having said that, I also do agree that, you know, at the moment, there's a little bit of a lack of clarity as to whether this is buying to sell in the future or whether it's a waste of time because we're not providing a pathway to the first team. Having said that, though, I can't be a hypocrite on this. I completely agree that Amorim is in a really difficult position to develop anyone at the moment. We've seen Dorgu dropped for Delo, experience. We've seen Yoro dropped for Maguire, experience. We've seen Casemiro and Bruno in the midfield over Mainu, experience. At the moment, Amorim is chasing results. And in chasing results, he has preferred to go for experience. I'm hoping that if we become more stable, and as Garfield says, it is the road back, and we do get into the top 4, and we do start to play more games, we might start to see in the FA Cup, the Champions League, Europa League, whatever we're in next year, we might start to see people like Kone or this lad from Lisbon, if we buy him, being given half an hour and starting to get minutes, because that's the key. At the moment, we have no capacity to develop what we've got, let alone bringing other players in. So I think for us to develop young players, we've got to get to a higher stable position. And we've not really done that. And I think that answers your question around people like Garnacho, Mainu at the moment, is that unstable environments lead to unstable upbringings. And that sounds very profound. God, it's almost like saying, why is he in prison? Let's have a look at his upbringing. Oh, he came from a broken home. His parents were this, that, and the other. But it's true. It's true. You can take very serious conversations and drop them into football. If a child is brought up in an unstable environment, the chances of them having, you know, being unstable adults is increased. And in football, if you are a player that's being developed in an unstable football, you know, people are being sacked, results are bad, you know, it's not a good environment, it's hard to develop. So we have to provide that stable environment. And, you know, I think there are a lot of people that would criticise United and Amorim for that, but I actually do agree with it. You can't just throw Kone into this team. You can't just throw Leon into this team at the moment. There's too much instability. And we've seen it with the likes of Chong. We've seen it with Dorgu last season. If you're a young player and you're playing in a team that's not very good, people will take a pop at you, and you don't want that. If on our way back, I mean celebrating 7th place, then yeah, we are back, says Will Scott. What if the ref didn't help Arsenal and Bruno puts it in the ref because you said, what if we lose to Tottenham, says Reba. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. Wuzzy says, maybe this will be for the... Can I just say, in relation to the video we did last night, Start, Bench, Sell, I think people are starting to get really bored with Bruno FC. Like, the comments yesterday, oh, another video about why Bruno can't play in the midfield. It was Start, Bench, Sell. It wasn't Bruno specific. He came up. And unfortunately, in life, people are going to have a different opinion to you. So instead of going, oh, another video about Bruno, it wasn't another video about Bruno. Maybe... It's a little bit like when people want to sack Ten Hag and Amorim and you say, who would you replace him with? Well, that's not my job. I'm just Amorim out. No, you want to sack Amorim, tell us who you want to replace him with. If you think Bruno's good in the midfield, please give us the facts and information why you think he's so good in the midfield, instead of going, oh, you're all just Bruno haters. You've just got an agenda against Bruno. Yeah, no, we haven't. We haven't. I certainly haven't. Bruno's one of my favourite players. I just want him to play as a number 10. Tell us why he's so good in the midfield, instead of trying to... you know, in life as well, when people try and defend something by going, you just hate it, I've won. I've won because I go, they can't... The only thing they can do is throw a petty little response. They can't actually give an argument. Like, if I was to say Phil Foden's overrated, a Man City fan would go, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. But Bruno in the midfield, I'm sorry. If you like him in the midfield, explain to us why he's so good there, and stop being a child and going, oh, you're just a hater. I don't see any Bruno hate. I don't see any Bruno hate. I just think people will go, in the midfield, he's a problem. He should be playing as a number 10. Maybe this will be for the later video, says Woozy, but where do you rate Conor Gallagher compared to the starting midfielders of our top 4 or 5 rivals? That will definitely be covered in the video later, Woozy. So watch later. It's terrifying that our data analytics was so behind and they think this makes us look good. Tells me we were amateurs, says Emily. Emily, absolute facts. Absolute facts. You would be terrified by how far Man United were behind in a lot of things. I mean, we're talking kit, we're talking, you know, catering, we're talking facilities. It's an embarrassment. We're so far behind in everything. Like this guy that's come in from Mercedes, there will be a big improvement in our data analytics, 100%, because it would have been shit before. You can't sack half your workforce as well and improve on things. So yeah, you know, some of these things are, you know, need to. Good luck today, Mark. We're still under a glaze. That was Ian Tracy. Another midfield target from Sporting, says Red. And don't want Gallagher at United. He is our boy, says Rub. Thank you very much for that. There is, just before I talk about that Roy Keane story, actually, because it's, again, there's some quite debateful stuff to talk about this morning, which is what I like, especially ahead of a big, massive charity stream. Need stuff to keep me going. So another story out of Germany this morning saying that Adeyemi's strained relationship with the manager could push him towards an exit. Man United are leading the chase and his agent Mendes is said to be talking over a potential move. Dortmund, however, unwilling to sell for anything under 80 million euros. I don't have a lot more to add because we sort of broke this story on Wednesday and discussed it a little bit since then. I don't know what's going on with this. Suffice to say, we just need to focus in on the 5 strands of a transfer. Are we being used to get a new deal? Are we being used to get out of Dortmund? Or are we genuinely in for Adeyemi? And we don't know the answer. We don't know the answer. We've been used multiple times before, and we've been in for players before. As I said to you yesterday, the priority is not a number 10 at the moment. The priority is 2 midfielders and possibly, you know, another striker and possibly a wide player. The interesting thing with Adeyemi is that he can play as a striker. He can play as a 10. And if Ahmad can play on the right, he can probably play as a wing-back as well. I like this player. It's weird to me because I like this player, and I was literally doing the Bundesliga on That's Football a few weeks ago, and I said, I feel he's got a move in him from Dortmund to somewhere. I mentioned the word Barcelona. I think he has the potential to be very, very special. Whether United need to go there or not, I don't know. But I do think beyond Cunha and Mbeumo, we are a little bit light. If you want to get technical, it depends where you want to be. I mean, most of us are still trying to build the first 11, and that has to be the priority. But Adeyemi would be helping you build the bench as well. Like, to compete at the top these days, we've seen the super squads that Chelsea, Arsenal are assembling. We need a super squad to compete. But at the moment, we're still trying to build a first 11. So you've got to focus on other areas. But we are going to need more than Cunha and Mbeumo. If Bruno goes, that's a number 10 option gone. Mason Mount, I don't think you can rely on. Ahmad's playing off the right. Xerxes, I think, will be gone. So we will be very short in the number 10 positions soon if certain things happen. So I can understand it, but I've got to say I can't see it really. But I would definitely do it. Definitely would. Let me have a quick look here. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. Make sure we hit 1,000 likes. Best of luck today. What a community, says Ian O'Connell. Yes, just a reminder, we have got a video coming up for you later on. But if you like this community, we are over on That's Football doing our yearly charity stream. Got loads of stuff planned. We've got a boxing watch along tonight. Seb's wanting to play Fortnite Simpsons. We're going to do some FC26 stuff as well. I've got interactive quiz games you can play against me live on the street, which will be very good. If you remember Quiz Up, just get involved. But ultimately, it is all about raising money for charity. So the link to donate is in the live chat and obviously will be up on the stream from 11 o'clock. We are raising money for people with terminal illness. It's the Marie Curie Centre that we do it for every year. We are closing in very quickly on nearly £1,500 already. So if you want to contribute early, please do leave us a little message on the Just Giving page as well, because some of you've been impacted by, you know, losing friends and family, or people who've recovered from serious illnesses and stuff like that. And it always helps if you can, are willing to share us those stories with your donations as well. Really appreciate that. So please do donate. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I want to talk about this next. So there was a bit of debate last night going off on social media around the interview with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on the Overlap, where he basically mentioned that Anthony Martial, without injury, was unplayable in his day. To which Roy Keane, basically nonsense, said, yeah, he's somewhere in Mexico now as a postman or something like that. And there was some laughing from the panel. And this upset some people, and some people found it funny. Some people took it to the extent that this is why Man United players will never do well, because they're just being abused by ex-players, etc. Which I find ridiculous, by the way. I mean, at the end of the day, as somebody that always tries to use banter to project frustration, I haven't got a problem with Roy Keane saying he's in Mexico as a postman. And I haven't got a problem with Roy Keane not being a fan of Anthony Martial. That's just opinion. We can't police opinion. And it would be a very boring world if someone like Roy Keane had to apologise for saying that Anthony Martial is crap and a postman in Mexico. Everyone's entitled to those opinions. But we are also entitled to respond. And I actually agree. I agree with Solskjaer. I think Anthony Martial, without the injuries, could have been an absolute worldie. I don't know whether the tweet still exists, but I did say at one point when we had Rashford and Martial and they were about 20, we're set for the next 5 years. They're going to be two of the best players in the Premier League. And I genuinely believed it, and it didn't happen. And I'm not here to analyse why that didn't happen. But all I'm saying is there was a time where I thought Martial was going to be brilliant. And injury was a problem. But what I will say is, and where I do want to say something about this, is that if Anthony Martial had been injured, or Paul Pogba had been injured for half of the season, missed the FA Cup final, went on duty with France, played for France, and then missed the next 4 months for Man United, they would have been deported. In a media sense. They'd have deported them. Manchester Evening News, all these ex-players, they'd have absolutely hung them out to dry. They would have absolutely finished them. They would have never shut up about it. What a disgrace. They don't care about Man United. This is an absolute joke. They don't play for the club. They go and play for their country, and then they're injured and they don't play for the club again. Get them out. Boot them out. You can imagine what would have been said. Luke Shaw did that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And this is not about Luke Shaw, and it's not about Paul Pogba. I know it's about Anthony Martial. But what I'm saying is there is a case to say that being a foreign player at Man United over the last few years has been a lot harder ride than being a British player. And that bias does grate sometimes. Whether it's the ex-player community or it's the media, we are very bad at that. I've got a problem with people disliking a foreign player or making a joke about a foreign player or anything like that. But I don't think there's a balanced opinion on it. It always, like with Rashford, with Maguire, Luke Shaw, there are others, McTominay, it was always, oh yeah, they're good lads, they're good lads. It always seems to be the foreign players that get it in the neck. Whereas I think on here we're more balanced. I'll say Bruno shouldn't be in the midfield. I'll say Maguire's had a shit game. I just think, that's a balanced opinion, and it surprises me that we can't have that. I also disagree with the Martial didn't look interested thing. Having spent a lot of time in a lot of different roles with a lot of different type of people, some people are introvert, some people are extrovert, some people are shy, some people are outgoing. Some people are happy, smiley people in front of the camera and depressives behind it. Some people are very subdued, quiet, head down sort of people, but in private, really, loud and, confident. For me, Anthony Martial was just a bit of a quiet person. He never did interviews. I can't remember many interviews that he did. I mean, he wasn't a bad-looking lad, and he was a striker. He could have made a lot of money out of brands, and he didn't do it. And I think that was always very unfair with Martial as well. So, yeah, he was injury-prone. But also, I think the evidence there, when people say he had a moody face, I don't think he was moody. You look at someone like Mbappe, he can have a moody face, but he does all the interviews. Martial didn't do interviews. I think he was probably quite reserved, maybe shy, I don't know. I think that was an unfair thing as well. But again, I think just because he was French or foreign, he just got a really bad press and got treated differently like Pogba did and other players did. We saw it with De Gea. That last season of De Gea, the treatment was embarrassing from the media. Every little thing, they were jumping on him. But if he'd have had a British passport, they wouldn't have done it. So I agree with Solskjaer. I think that Martial is arguably... He was very good at holding the ball up. He was very good at running the channel. And he was, I wouldn't say he was unplayable, but I think he was a very good player if he hadn't had the injuries. And I certainly wouldn't put Anthony Martial in the category of a Jadon Sancho or an Alexis Sanchez. Or Erasmus Højlund or any, I certainly wouldn't say that Anthony Martial was a flop at Manchester United. I was looking here, 209 games, 63 goals. So for an injury-prone player who probably didn't start many of those games, a goal every 3.5 games isn't particularly bad, considering the circumstances. It could have been a lot better, but I certainly wouldn't say he was a flop. And I think that's important to remember. I just think he was a player that we expected more from. And it's like Rashford. Rashford's left Man United under a bit of a cloud. But when you look back at the good times, he wasn't a flop, But the injuries killed him, really. Thank you very much to Martin Ingram for your super chat as well. Right, I had better get off. I just realised that I've got to start in 15 minutes and I might fancy an excited dump before I start. I've got to make myself a coffee as well. We are doing the Conor Ben fight as a watch-along. So if you're interested, Ben Eubank fight tonight. I do occasionally do fight watch-alongs. We are doing that on the charity stream tonight as well. So we've got loads of entertainment for you. It's not just sitting raising money, which is what it is, but there's loads of stuff planned. I've just got to do a quick tidy up in 10 minutes, get a coffee and set up the stuff we need to set up. And then we're going to be live. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Get yourself over to the charity stream. It starts in about 15 minutes time. Please do donate before it starts. It'd be great to have a good start. The fight will be good tonight. Very much looking forward to it. Join me there for that. Thanks for all your comments this morning. I think we got through everything. I was going to talk about Onana very, very quickly. He will be coming back to Man United in the summer, but don't worry. That's just because there's no obligation to buy. He is finished. He is finished at Manchester United. There's no doubt about that. But thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you over on the live stream in a moment. Take care.